Have you ever found yourself sitting quietly in your favorite chair, maybe with a cup of tea or coffee, and suddenly you realize your children don't seem to listen to you the way they used to? Maybe you've noticed that your advice is brushed aside, your stories are met with impatience, or your presence just doesn't seem to carry the same weight it once did. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, or wondered when the respect you once had started to slip away, you're not alone. This is something so many parents experience as their children grow up, start their own families, and become more independent. It can feel confusing, even painful, to watch the dynamic shift and wonder what, if anything, you can do to regain that sense of respect and connection. Today, I want to talk with you about something that's not only deeply personal, but also incredibly important for your happiness and peace of mind. We're going to explore 6 powerful ways you can regain respect when your children don't seem to show it anymore. And let me tell you, it's never too late to make a change. No matter how old you are or how long things have felt this way, you have the power to shift the energy in your relationships. Sometimes it just takes a new perspective and a few simple changes to start seeing real results. So let's settle in together. Imagine we're having a heart-to-heart chat, just you and me. I want you to know that you're not alone in this. And there are real practical steps you can take to feel respected and valued again. Let's start with the first way you can begin to turn things around. The first thing I want to share is the importance of setting boundaries, even with your own children. Now, I know that might sound a little strange at first. After all, as parents, we're used to giving, sacrificing, and putting our children's needs ahead of our own. But as we get older, it becomes even more important to protect our own well-being. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you love your children any less. In fact, it's a way of showing respect for yourself, which in turn teaches others how to treat you. For example, if your children tend to call only when they need something, or if they speak to you in a way that feels dismissive, it's okay to let them know how that makes you feel. You might say, "I love helping you, but I also appreciate when we can just talk and catch up." Or, "I feel hurt when I'm spoken to that way. I'd like us to have more respectful conversations." It can feel uncomfortable at first, but standing up for yourself in a calm, loving way is one of the most powerful things you can do. Over time, your children will start to notice that you value yourself, and they'll begin to value you more as well. Another way to regain respect is to focus on your own growth and happiness. Sometimes, when we feel disrespected, it's easy to fall into the trap of waiting for others to change. But the truth is, the most effective changes start with us. Think about the things that bring you joy, the hobbies you've always wanted to try, or the skills you'd like to develop. Maybe you've always wanted to learn to paint, join a book club, or even travel to a new place. When you invest in yourself, you send a powerful message, not just to your children, but to everyone around you, that your life is valuable and interesting. I remember a friend of mine, Margaret, who always put her family first. After her children grew up and moved away, she felt lost and unappreciated. But then she decided to take up gardening, something she'd always loved but never had time for. She started sharing photos of her beautiful flowers and vegetables with her family, and suddenly her children were calling more often, asking for advice and wanting to visit. By focusing on her own happiness, Margaret naturally drew her family back in and regained their respect in a way that felt effortless. It's also important to communicate openly and honestly with your children. Sometimes they may not even realize how their words or actions are affecting you. It's easy to assume that they should just know, but the reality is everyone gets caught up in their own lives. If you're feeling hurt or overlooked, try to have a gentle, honest conversation about it. You might say, "I miss the times when we used to talk more," or "I'd love to feel more included in your life." The key is to speak from the heart, without blaming or accusing. When you share your feelings openly, you give your children the chance to understand and respond in a more thoughtful way. It can be scary to open up, especially if you're worried about being rejected or misunderstood. But more often than not, these conversations lead to greater understanding and a renewed sense of closeness. Now, I know these first steps can feel challenging, especially if you've been dealing with disrespect for a long time. But remember, every small change you make is a step toward a more respectful and loving relationship with your children. You deserve to feel valued, and it's never too late to start making that happen. Let's keep this conversation going, because I know how important it is to feel respected and heard, especially by the people you love most. We've already talked about setting boundaries, focusing on your own growth, and opening up honest communication. These are powerful steps, but there's even more you can do to shift the energy in your relationships and remind your children just how much you matter. One of the most overlooked ways to regain respect is by leading with empathy. It might sound simple, but putting yourself in your children's shoes can change everything. Life today moves so quickly, and your children might be juggling work, raising their own kids, or dealing with stress you don't always see. When you approach them with understanding instead of frustration, it opens the door for a deeper connection. For example, if your son or daughter seems distracted or short with you, instead of taking it personally, you might say, "I can see you're really busy these days. Is there anything I can do to support you?" This small shift in perspective can soften their hearts and remind them that you're not just their parent, but also someone who cares about their well-being. Over time, this kind of empathy often comes back to you in the form of greater respect and appreciation. Another powerful way to regain respect is to model the behavior you want to see. Think back to when your children were little. You taught them by example how to say please and thank you, how to treat others with kindness, how to be honest and responsible. That lesson doesn't end just because they're grown. If you want your children to speak to you with respect, make sure you're doing the same for them. Even when you're upset or disappointed, try to keep your words gentle and your tone calm. If you make a mistake, don't be afraid to apologize. This shows incredible strength and humility, and it sets a standard for how you expect to be treated in return. I've seen families transform simply because one person decided to break the cycle of harsh words or silent treatment. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. Sometimes, regaining respect means letting go of old patterns and embracing change. As parents, it's natural to want to hold on to the way things used to be. Maybe you remember when your children were young and needed you for everything, or when family dinners were a regular part of life. But as your children grow, your relationship with them has to grow too. This might mean accepting that they have their own opinions, their own ways of doing things, and their own lives to lead. Instead of resisting these changes, Try to celebrate them. Ask your children about their interests, listen to their stories, and show genuine curiosity about their lives. When you make an effort to connect with them as adults, rather than just as your children, you create a new foundation for mutual respect. I know this can be easier said than done, especially if you feel like you're the only one trying. But remember, every relationship is a two-way street. Even if your children don't respond right away, your efforts are never wasted. You're planting seeds that can grow into something beautiful over time. Let me share a story that might resonate with you. I once spoke with a gentleman named Robert who felt completely disconnected from his adult daughter. They barely spoke, and when they did, it was usually tense. Robert decided to try something different. Instead of waiting for his daughter to reach out, he started sending her short, thoughtful messages, sometimes a funny memory, sometimes just a note to say he was thinking of her. He didn't expect much, but slowly his daughter began to respond. Their conversations became warmer, and eventually they started meeting for coffee again. It wasn't an overnight change, but by showing empathy, modeling respect, and being willing to adapt, Robert rebuilt a relationship he thought was lost. As you think about your own family, remember that it's never too late to try something new. Even small gestures, a kind word, a listening ear, a willingness to see things from your children's perspective can make a world of difference. And if you ever feel discouraged, remind yourself that you're not alone. So many parents are walking this same path, learning and growing right alongside you. Let's keep this conversation going, because I know how much it matters to feel respected and valued, especially by your own children. We've already talked about setting boundaries, focusing on your own happiness, communicating openly, leading with empathy, and modeling the respect you want to receive. These are all meaningful steps, but there's still a couple more ways you can gently shift the dynamic and bring more respect and warmth back into your family relationships. One of the most transformative things you can do is to rediscover your sense of purpose outside of your role as a parent. It's so easy, after decades of raising children and putting their needs first, to feel like your identity is wrapped up in being mom or dad. But you are so much more than that. When your children see you living with purpose, whether that's through volunteering, pursuing a passion, or simply being active in your community, they can't help but see you in a new light. It's inspiring, and it reminds them that you are a whole person with dreams, wisdom, and value that go far beyond your family role. I remember meeting a woman named Linda at a local art class. She told me that after her children moved out, she felt lost and a little invisible, but she'd always loved painting, so she signed up for a class at the community center. Not only did she make new friends and discover a hidden talent, but her children started to take notice. They'd ask about her paintings, come to her art shows, and even bring their own friends along. Linda's new sense of purpose gave her a glow that her family couldn't ignore. It wasn't about making her children respect her. It was about respecting herself first and letting that confidence shine through. Another important step is to practice forgiveness, both for your children and for yourself. Family relationships are complicated, and sometimes old hurts or misunderstandings can linger for years. Maybe your children have said things that stung, or maybe you regret something from the past. Holding on to resentment only builds walls between you. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or pretending everything is perfect. It means letting go of the need to be right and choosing peace over pride. When you forgive, you free yourself from the weight of old pain, and you open the door for new, healthier patterns to emerge. If you find it hard to forgive, start small. Maybe it's just a silent wish for your child's happiness, or a gentle reminder to yourself that everyone is doing the best they can. Over time, these small acts of forgiveness can soften your heart and make it easier to reconnect. And when your children see that you're willing to move forward, they may feel safer to do the same. As you put these ideas into practice, remember that change doesn't always happen overnight. Sometimes it's a slow process, with small steps forward and the occasional step back. But every effort you make is a sign of your strength and your love. You're showing your children and yourself that you deserve to be treated with kindness and respect. Let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've talked about. You've learned how to set healthy boundaries, invest in your own happiness, communicate openly, lead with empathy, model respectful behavior, rediscover your purpose, and practice forgiveness. Each of these steps is powerful on its own, but together they create a foundation for stronger, more respectful relationships. I want you to know that you are not alone on this journey. So many parents feel the same way you do, and it takes real courage to make a change. If you ever feel discouraged, remember that even the smallest step can make a difference. Maybe it's a kind word, a new hobby, or a heartfelt conversation. Whatever it is, trust that you are moving in the right direction. If you found any of these ideas helpful, I'd love to hear your thoughts or experiences. Sharing your story can help others who might be feeling the same way. And if you're looking for more support, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We're building a community here, one where everyone deserves to feel respected, valued, and heard. Here's to you, your wisdom, your strength, and your ability to create positive change at any age. Remember, respect starts with you, and you have everything you need to build the relationships you want. Keep going, keep growing, and know that you are worthy of all the love and respect in the world.